Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Friday morning, March 11th, 2022. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, around 8 o'clock Central. We focus on strategies, tips, success stories, and primarily we're here to support you. We have a structured agenda planned, however, that often gets altered based upon the feedback from you all. So today we plan to speak on using education as a lead generation strategy. That got bumped based upon several of the inquiries that you've had and because of Jerry Cooper. And I'll tell you more about Jerry in just a second. He's one of our distribution partners. But there's been just this immense interest in the My Real Estate Money approach. And we're going to go through that again. Now, we rolled this out in November of last year, 2021. There was a 3-part training that we had, and it's available here on My Real Estate Money. So you can go back and get that more in totality if you want. But the reason this came about is because why it took priority today is because of Jerry. Jerry is one of our distribution partners, and he has a client that we're working on a real estate capital raise. And this may sound unbelievable, but it's true. It's a very large real estate capital raise. The capital raise is for $6.5 billion. So congratulations, Jerry Cooper. That is a big deal. That is a huge deal. We'd call that a whale, wouldn't we? But there's others. There's like Phil and Bruce. They're a team. We're working on one of their clients, Victoria, and Victoria is preparing to buy a hospital. Who knew you could go out and buy a hospital? Hospitals are not cheap, but that is being structured as a real estate transaction. Phil and Bruce's client not only is buying a hospital, but she's also doing another real estate deal with us to buy 110 cabins. And so it's more like an Airbnb recreational. So we see a lot of activity in the real estate space. We're getting a lot of questions. So we thought, we probably should go back and do a refresher on it. So let's do that and then make sure that we're answering your questions, and then we can bounce around on other topics as we need. So the myrealestatemoney.com resource site came about in November after we secured that new bank relationship, FDIC insured bank that's very hungry in going after real estate deals. So that's why we created this campaign. Keep in mind that this helps you identify a specific target audience, individuals looking at buying commercial and or residential real estate. However, it's not a different program. These folks, you could use this type of system to generate your leads, but ultimately they're going to come through either access to capital or the 2-step funding. So the process of client implementation is the same. We obviously need to build out the documentation necessary for funding. We call that the loan package. So how the client actually is contracted is the same, but we have to recognize that there are different uses of funds. For instance, we talked about Ben Weaver, a recent success story. Ben Weaver just got funded from that same bank that I was referencing, got funded $120,000, but he runs a machine shop. So frankly, his funding had nothing to do with real estate. But the bottom line is, regardless of the use of funds, whether you want funding to start or expand a machine shop, to buy a hospital like Victoria's doing, like Jerry Cooper's client that needs $6.5 billion with a B to buy a big real estate, huge real estate deal. Those are all just different uses of funds. But what you and I know is the process. We need to generate leads, and from leads we have conversions, and from conversions you make money. So it's a 3-step process: leads, conversions, you get paid, and of course the client gets funding. So this could be a way that you could use to generate more leads. Yesterday, we had a really good training. We talked about Real X traffic and how a number of you are going to that resource to get leads. Alex is a great example. Alex is one of our white label partners, and he went out and he got a batch of leads, I believe from Real X traffic. And he, according to Scott Stroud, our chief marketing officer, I think he ended up with over a 50% conversion, which is great, going to his landing page. So let's go ahead and dig into this pitch as a way that you could generate leads, but the conversion will be the same. The conversion is going to either be getting that client to enroll in the Access to Capital program or the two-step. And then, of course, we build out their loan package and then they go to funding. All right, so the concept here is it's an innovative program offering 100% financing for residential and commercial properties. There's a number of highlights listed here: 100% financing available, flexible underwriting, full amortization loans, appraisal waivers available, rates start at 5%, no prepayment penalty, interest only available, unrestricted closing, credit isn't a barrier, guaranteed funding, lucrative referral program. So this can be used in many different ways. So it can be used for residential properties. Now, we're not residential mortgage loan brokers, so this is not an alternative for someone that wants to get a private mortgage finance, a private mortgage. However, there's a workaround, isn't there? And you know it and I know it, so let's just go ahead and let the elephant out of the room. If someone can't qualify for a traditional mortgage, could they buy that same property under a business and say that it's for investment purposes? Of course they could. If they end up moving into it, quote unquote, temporarily, does that mean that they need a private residential mortgage? No. So we're actually doing an inspection on a property today, brand new construction build, young family's going to be closing on it on March 24th, I believe. But is it for them? No, it's an investment property. So you can see how that can work. So this can be for freestanding single housing, multifamily housing. We're doing a big deal on a manufactured home community, a trailer park for looser terms. It can be used for office space, office building. And again, Victoria is buying a hospital. Who in the world knew that you could go out and buy a hospital? But Victoria is literally buying a hospital through this funding. Okay, so it can be used for residential properties, commercial properties. The price range, and again, on occasion, we can get an exception for the top end. This is what the bank tells us. Normally, the bank doesn't want to do a deal below 100,000, which in today's real estate market, that's probably an okay floor. But they normally say 75 million. They will review larger deals by exception. And funding even for hard to finance deals, rural locations, foreign national, special purpose property, even land and other financing can be used to purchase, refinance, fix and flip, construction, development, bridge, cash out loans. Now, any of you that subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, you may have seen that some of the banks are getting even more relaxed on real estate lending, which is great. This is a great time to do real estate financing. And one of the most recent articles that I read, and you might have seen it as well, is Ozark Bank, which it's not pronounced Ozark, it's OZK, are doing some very interesting non-recourse financing for real estate. So this is the standard landing page we have here. I don't know that you would necessarily recommend referring people to this landing page because they would need to know to mark referred by you. Instead, your better application of this is probably one of two things. You could create some marketing pitches using this content to attract people to you, you could do a telephone consultation, and then you could do a phone close into either the two-step funding process or the access to capital. You could do that, or you could go with Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer, and he could develop a landing page using this content that's specific to you. So it would have a unique URL. You could drive people to that, and instead of having our information, it would have your information. That would require some coordination and time and effort between you and Scott to create a personalized landing page for this campaign, or you could just simply use this content, do the marketing that you do very well, generate leads, get them on the phone, and do a phone close. I do realize that there's kind of two groups of distribution partners we have. We have those that are interested in a no-touch close process. So they want to feed people in, let the system, the automation take care of the close, and they don't even interact with the prospect. And so that's fine. We'll call that automation. And then there's the other group of you that I'd consider more hunters. And hunters want prospects. They want to talk to the prospect, and they're going to get that prospect on the phone. They're going to text them a link to their enrollment page, whatever it may be. And in fact, then the client enrolls on the phone in most cases. Phone closes will generate the highest conversion. You'll make the most money, but I do realize that some of you don't want to talk to your prospects. Scott just reminded me that the real estate landing page is included in the package that he's been creating. So better yet, thank you, Scott, for that clarification. Many of you probably already then have this landing page. You just need to use it. And if you don't have this landing page, then reach out to myself or Scott, and we can help you do that if that's what you want to do. What we know about the best landing pages or lead capture pages is that it's a two-page process. It would allow the client to submit their lead information, and then the automation would take them to the second page and allow them to enroll using terms and conditions. Best case scenario is online terms and conditions, because they can go ahead and get started if they're ready, and it's the least, you're going to have the highest conversion because it's the easiest for them. It requires the least amount of effort. They can put their information in, click I agree. If you're driving them into access to capital, of course, then there's no upfront cost, so it's even easier. If you're taking them into the two-step funding program, then they're going to need to pay either the $396 or the $499 payments. If you're not familiar with this, I encourage you to spend a little more time, because real estate is a really hot industry. And even though interest rates are eking up a bit, real estate is a hot market. And I'm going to give you another reason why you should be considering this in a minute. We'll talk about some leads. But so these 3 videos that we recorded late November, early December still apply. And I encourage you to go through those if you're not familiar with them, or even for a refresher. All right, so I'm going to hit you with something that you may not like, but it's true, and it applies to general capital raise. So we often talk about, what does it take to become credible on paper to get funding? And we've talked about the 3 C's, and sometimes we say, well, there's actually 4 C's, and the truth is there's actually 5 C's. But what often is unspoken, and I'm not saying it's fair, and I don't think that it treats all people equally. And so I'm not talking about you or I'm talking about the financing world, the financing system. But one element, probably more than anything else, that can help a person look credible. So we're not talking about the business looking credible, which of course is driven by the balance sheet. But from an individual perspective, let me ask you, what do you think is the biggest variable that impacts an individual's credibility from a lender's perspective, beyond the basics, beyond credit, collateral, and cash flow? Anyone have any ideas? If you want to respond in the Q&A of Zoom, what's a variable that impacts an individual's credibility immensely? In other words, impacts their access to capital above and beyond the 3 C's, the main 3 C's. Anyone have any ideas you want to submit into the Zoom Q&A? Well, Bruce hit the nail on the head. Home ownership. If you own a home, you are deemed to be more credible than someone that rents. So I'm not saying that's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just telling you that it makes a significant impact on many types of funding. What can you do here for any client? Even if they wouldn't qualify for a traditional mortgage, you can move people from being renters to homeowners. And so it becomes so easy to find a target market for this offering. Everyone living in every apartment complex should be a prospect for this, shouldn't they? Everyone that's renting a home, everyone that's renting a manufactured home, those are all great prospects because they could possibly either buy the property that they and their family already live in, or go buy another property under a business, even if they don't qualify individually. This is the way that people buy multiple properties, right? If you and I went out and we found a house that we would like to live in, and we applied for a mortgage, there's the normal mortgage criteria, of course. But then if we saw another house that we wanted to buy, it becomes more difficult to get the second financing and third financing. And I know there's really rich people that have multiple homes, but they're an outlier. That's not the way the rest of us live. But if you start buying those properties under your LLC or your corporation, you have really unlimited borrowing capacity. And that's why business funding is so much stronger than individual funding. So our point today was quite simply a refresher. If you didn't remember that the myrealestatemoney.com resource site is available, it is. You can review it, refresh yourself with these 3 videos. If you want a landing page that's based off of this that you can market and drive people directly to, Scott can build that for you. If you don't want that, you just simply want to extract some of this content off and use it for your marketing. I tell you what, one of our top guys, well, Joseph, we've talked about Joseph how many times, right? He's a realtor, one of our top producers out of Arkansas. He takes this pitch or a variation of this pitch and he posts it on sites like Craigslist. 100% financing, own your own home. Just crazy response because there's a lot of people that are tired of renting, putting up with the BS from neighbors, the BS from landlords, tired of paying someone else's mortgage. And so some of you are just simply taking some of this content, posting it out there on Facebook and Craigslist and other ways, and creating a massive flow of leads. But again, it's a 3-step process, right? First, you need leads, and then we need to convert them. So there's going to be one of 2 ways to convert them typically. Either use an automation sequence where you drive them to a landing page, they can get more familiar, and then they can go right into the terms and conditions and enroll, or you need to get them on the phone. And it's again called a phone close. So you're on the phone, you text them at that time, the enrollment page, your enrollment page, and you talk to them, and you should be able to see what an 80 or 90% close rate. There is a hybrid, and I think April has mastered this. She likes leads, and she's really good at developing leads, but frankly, April isn't really, I don't think, very confident. I mean that respectfully, and she's on the webinar. She's not really wanting to do the closing. So she generates the leads, and then she gives them to her team or sells them to her team. I don't know what she's doing. I think she might be selling them to her team. But regardless, she generates the leads using this model and then has someone on her team close, and she gets the overrides from it. So that would be another variation. So we'll wrap it up today. What we always commit to on Fridays is trying to be a bit more succinct. So myrealestatemoney.com launched in November after we signed the relationship with the big bank that is hungry for real estate deals. The highlights are available here. You can certainly refer people to this page, just make sure that you're listed, but better yet, use this information and drive them to your existing landing pages or to you for a phone close. And if you prefer, you can work with Scott. He can put together a customized landing page of this where you'll have your own link, people will come to you. They'll be able to see the value proposition. They'll be able to sign up automatically. Who has questions, comments, concerns on our topic today? And then we'll come back Monday and talk more about using the 27 mistakes for teaching to generate leads. But when Jerry Cooper landed the $6.5 billion, it sounds unreal, but there are big real estate deals out there. When Jerry Cooper landed that big one, we thought we better go back and get everyone familiar with this. All right, so Veronica asked, how do we get this again? Well, I'll summarize. I don't think I have a different answer, Veronica, but you can either use this information to do your marketing to generate leads and then drive them to you, to your existing landing pages for a close or do a phone close. Or you can get with Scott. Scott will create a landing page for you that's customized specific to you. So those are the options there. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? So again, this is not a different funding program. This is a different way to generate leads. What we need to do is focus on generating leads, and then we can have conversions. The actual conversion will be into either the access to capital or the two-step funding program. It's one of those two. And the use of funds in this example is real estate. Mr. Barchi's asking, how do you get paid? So great question. So you get paid one of two ways. You either get paid through the access to capital program, or you get paid through the two-step funding program. And thank you for bringing that up. It shows that I'm not very effective this morning. So this is a use of funds. It doesn't matter if they want to start a church, they want to start a brothel, they want to start a muffler shop. The way that you're paid is based upon, are you going to bring them into your access to capital funnel? And so as a white label partner, you pick the performance fee and you're paid whatever you want to charge them. And that again is covered in the training we did back in November and early December, or you can bring them into the two-step funding program. But how you get paid doesn't matter what they want to use the money for. This is just a different way to generate the leads, to be able to create the documentation, the loan package, but how you get paid is not different based upon use of funds. But yeah, once they get funded, just like, let's use Ben Weaver again as an example. So Spencer Seymour just got paid $12,000 for helping Ben Weaver get his $120,000 funding from the same bank. And so Ben Weaver received his $120,000, and then Spencer got paid $12,000 after the client closed. Same with real estate. Client closes, and then the client pays the performance fee. There's no difference. This is just a different use of funds. But it's a very effective way to generate leads, because if you want to make money, we need conversions. And if we want conversions, we have to have leads. Some of you have figured that out. I mentioned Alex. Alex has generated over 50 leads in the past 3 days. 50 leads in the past 3 days. And I think he's using Real X Traffic or one of those purchased lead sources where he paid $90 and got 200 leads. But there are other ways to generate leads. And I'm showing you, frankly, a free way right now. You can take this information, go post it on Facebook, go post it on Craigslist, go post it with real estate groups, and you will generate leads. But you need to know what to do with the leads. And the leads would be either to feed them into your existing landing page or to get a phone conversation with them and do a phone close. All right, well, we covered that. So we'll be back and we'll talk about education on Monday. Have a great weekend. Let us know if you need anything. Have a good day. Bye.